Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm the Blue Ranger, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what's coming to Destiny, or what I think is coming to Destiny. This video is going to be a little different. This is a little bit more of my thoughts and opinions on what's going on. I guess it's a vlog. I don't really know. It's not about, I don't know, whatever. I don't know how this fucking works, so just deal with it. This is what's happening. So, there's a major thing that's happening in the updates coming up that I feel needs addressing from my end because I have a differing opinion from a lot of people. And that is the significant light level increase. I believe that the significant light level increase, which a lot of people think will be 330, will be at the bare minimum 350. I think it could land anywhere from 350 to 400, which is a huge number, but hear me out. It'll make sense when I get through this. A lot of people are talking about the light level increase being 330. Now, in the past, we went from a level cap of 30 to 32 to 34. Those seemed small in increments, especially now considering our light level system is completely different, but, you know, the power difference was pretty dramatic. So, to me, let's go with the 350. Let's say that's the base, that's where it's going, just 350 straight up. Right now, without buying them from the kiosk, the exotics drop at 290 at the base. That's the base level that exotics drop at. And people are coming in and saying, oh, well, there's things in the database that are 330. There's placeholders. They've had placeholders in there since the beginning of the database. So there's no guarantee that that is anything at all. But let's pretend it is. I'm not even going to really pretend that it is. I'm going to pretend that they're 320. When they drop at 290 now and they cap at 320, it's 30. That's a 30 increase. So if you can get 320 exotics, I mean 330, we're going to 360. That's why I'm saying it's kind of higher. Your options really lie in the idea that you can go significantly higher. So I think that we'll be going to at least a 350 light level because there's that 30 level light level gap between where exotics drop and where they finish, just going off of what we know from the past. Now, if we look at other things, the Taken King storyline drops you at about 220 when you finish the story. That's about where you're going to finish the story. And then there's this grind. Now, before I say this, I understand there's exceptions to the rules and that all the serious players have played alt characters from really low light levels or whatever. But the idea is that you grind from 220 to 280 to do the raid. I know someone's going to come in and say, well, I did it at 256 or whatever the lowest possible thing is, and then they blew up in rank immediately because they did a challenge mode or something. There's exceptions to every rule, but there's a 60 light level gap just to get from the end of the story to the end game. 60, just to go from one to the other. Not, you know, you go up 60 in the end game. There's 60 to get to the end game. And then there's 40 more. There's a 100 light level gap between the end of the story and the end of the end game content. The way the light level works now is so much more dramatic than the way that it used to, whereas before you just needed to get the armor. It wasn't what light level did it drop at, it just dropped and you needed all the pieces of the raid armor and you were there. Which, of course, ruined the whole concept of being a special guardian that looked completely different from everybody else, but it still did, you know, it served its purpose. Now we have infusion and things are different and you can go all dead orbit if you want or all iron banner, whatever. You have that option because of infusing, but the point being you have 100 light between the end of the game and the end game, if that makes sense. So if they say there's a significant light level increase and they're giving us a new story, in what universe is 10 light level gonna be enough? The other thing I want to consider is this. They're showing us that it's essentially going to be a revamp of the Prison of Elders. I think that's a pretty safe bet at this point, considering everything's happening in the Reef. They're showing us Guardians wearing all Prison of Elders gear. It just... Oh, and all the talk about the Queen not being dead on that live Twitch cast and, you know, at the Bungie studio. There's no way that this isn't going to be somehow related to... somehow related to Prison of Elders. Now let's just look at Prison of Elders from the past and try to consider it. First, Prison of Elders had 28, 32, 34, 35. Those were the 4 levels that it came at. I don't think there was a 30. No, there wasn't a 30. 28 was basically the base level. Anyone could play that. That's why it was match made. When you were done with Crota's End, like the idea was that everyone had a level 32 character, which meant 28 would pretty much suffice as a way to get acclimated into the Prison of Elders, and anyone that wasn't quite 32 yet could get some gear to maybe help them get to that point. Great. So let's just pretend that there is a base level Prison of Elders, nothing about it. Cool. I'm not going to pretend to know what numbers, so we're just going to go 1, 2, and 3, okay? Let's say level 1, which was 32 in the past, gives you a 10 light level increase. So you go from 320 to 330. Because, frankly, it should probably be higher. It should probably take you 20. It should probably take you from 320 to 340. And then the second, tier 2, which would be the 34, would take you from 340 to 360. And then perhaps the 35, or tier 3 as I'm calling it, would take you from 360 to 370. You see what I'm saying? The light level jumps are so much wider than they used to be that saying that the light level is going to be 330, which is what I keep hearing, seems asinine. I mean, yes, there's some sound theories that it's going to be a stepping stone, but the fact that we're getting these broad spectrum jumps in light level throughout all of the Taken King so far, giving us 10 more light and calling it significant, almost sounds like they're reverting back to the way they used to do things, which nobody really liked because it was get the gear and use it. Now, thankfully, we'll be able to infuse it, and we'll be able to put it into whatever we want, but if we don't, it's kind of going to screw us. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. The other thing, too, is they really need to up the drop rate of things. Weapons drop like 1 to 10 to armor, it seems like, and it's a problem to me. So if they give us this big broad spectrum from, let's go with 370. I think 370 sounds like a solid number now. If they give us from 320 to 370, that's a 50 light level increase. That means that they could drop us a lot of gear. A lot of gear. There's gonna probably be a vendor reset. Thank God! Everyone, go buy your Hung Jury right now, and if you really want to, buy the Vertigo. But you're gonna have a vendor reset. Oh, and your what's that sniper called? 1,000-yard stare, because that sumbitch probably going away. The point being, you're gonna be able to get a lot more loot of new stuff that you probably haven't had, that we haven't had before. Again, fingers crossed, hopefully it's not all reskins. So, these are my thought processes on the light level. A lot of people are talking about this 330 light, and I don't think that that's the case. The one other thing I wanted to address is the Taken shader. It could be a shader. Nobody knows. I'm not going to sit here and say I know what it is, but I don't think it's a shader, because it looks as if there's some sort of resonance coming off of the top of their heads, and so far shaders just seem to change the color of the armor. It's basically a reskinning of geometries that already exist. So if there's flames coming off the head, which is something they did with the Nightfall, I hear that, but that was not a shader. That was an effect that was applied after finishing the Nightfall. Adding that to a shader just seems kind of bizarre. And to me, doesn't seem to be all that different than than being torn between dimensions in the King's Fall raid. I'm just gonna keep talking with my hands because it's kind of funny in my peripherals. Anyway, I don't think it's a shader. I think it's gonna be something kind of like the Broken Heart buff in the doubles. What was it? It was the doubles, Crimson Doubles from Crimson Days. I think it's gonna be something much more akin to that than a shader. I think it's gonna be something when you complete, the tier 3 Prison of Elders that week. If you complete it on that character, you're taken or something. I don't know how it's gonna work. I also think, remember guys, Glowhoo was the shit when it came out, and it lasted like 8 minutes before people were sick of it. It's a cool shader, but you're gonna want to go back to your cool ass combination that you've been working on for 6, 8, 10 months. I don't know how long you've been working on your, some people might be from year 1 still, but those cheeky ones tend to fade off real quick, like the hard mode ship, the hard mode challenge ship from Oryx. I still see them floating around, but most of the hardcore players that I see are kind of over it. So basically what I'm saying is I'm excited for all this new stuff. I really am. But let's get more excited. 330 sounds like a letdown to me. Let's get more excited about the opportunities that are being presented to us, because I think that we're going to get not more than we deserve, because it's free. It's coming with what we already paid for. It's just more content. That's fucking incredible. It's more so along the lines of all of the potential that the Taken King really opened up for us, and the light level increase that we could potentially get. Not to mention that shader that could also just be gear, another buff, something like that. There's so many things that can be played with right now, and I couldn't be more excited. I'm definitely taking that day off of work at my full-time job and spending the whole day playing through it. So make sure you come and check me out at twitch.tv/I'mTheBlueRanger. I will be there on the 17th all day. I believe it's the 17th. God, I hope I didn't screw that up. But of course, don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends if you enjoyed what you see here, and check me out on Twitch, which I just mentioned. So I'm going to end this video before I start repeating myself too much. Thanks for coming by, guys, and I'll catch you next time.